What's up everybody, Swillow here, and today I am going to be talking about Warriors Orochi 4. I know a lot of people have been waiting very long to hear my opinion on this game, or to see any sort of footage, and to be honest, the main reason I just haven't been making footage for this game is because I can't really find anything interesting about it to make footage for. So first off, I want to talk about Warriors Orochi as a series and how I felt about it. I've played all of the games. The first game I enjoyed a lot. I got a good amount of playtime, and it was really fun when the first game came out because it was something really different from any other Warriors game. However, as the series progressed into 2 into 3, I felt like the games just felt kind of cheap. They were still fun for the same reasons the first game was, but I felt like there was like a lack of consistent quality throughout the design. Like some characters were just really good and broken, and some characters were just like, it's almost like they didn't even play test them or make sure their moveset even had any sort of relevance in the game at all. So the games just lacked like a certain quality throughout, consistent quality, which made them feel like kind of cheap thrown together games, honestly. And I mean, considering that the games are already using a lot of pre-existing resources, I felt that them taking the route of not going through and at least fine-tuning these resources for the game, it came off as lazy to me. Now the thing is, I do understand that the Warriors Orochi series is actually fairly popular. I know people like 3 Ultimate a lot. You know, 1 was pretty fun. 2 didn't really get properly localized until way later. 2 kind of was a little weird outside of Japan, but I mean, for the most part, the fandom is really positive about Warriors Orochi, so it's more of like some personal gripes you could say that I have with the Warriors Orochi line, of it just feeling not consistent in quality throughout. And here we are with Warriors Orochi 4, and Warriors Orochi 4 is following in the same footsteps. Now, there's some interesting things about Warriors Orochi 4. They did make a lot of nice quality of life changes. Like, they added certain things like the mock battle, which is kind of like a little training mode where you can actually test out characters, move sets and stuff, which is a really genius feature that should be in all Warrior games from this point on. This is definitely like a really important feature they added to this game that is a great thing for Warrior games in general, and not just Warriors Orochi. In terms of this game, they did add some nice quality of life mechanics, like being able to air switch your characters and different things like that. So there is some nice elements in this game, but once again we get this problem where there's just so many characters in this game that they clearly didn't take the time to go through and properly balance them all. So there's definitely a huge imbalance when you play through each character, but it's not as bad as, say, like Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate, where some characters just felt borderline unplayable at times, or their hitboxes just didn't function. It's not as bad here, but it's still pretty bad. And one thing they try to do to fix that is add this new Sacred Treasure mechanic. So the Sacred Treasure mechanic, it replaces the original R1 attacks, and the original R1 attacks were really important because they kind of defined characters in a way, or helped enhance their playstyle specifically. So the R1 attacks were not like the best for every character. Some of them just had really bad ones, but at the same time they were uniquely designed for each character to cater to their playstyle to a degree. So the removal of them sort of made each character less unique. So you'd like a character like Date Masamune, for instance, he used to be able to rifle cancel with his R1, and the loss of his R1 means that he's sort of lost a unique sort of depth that he had as a character. And to me, that's really disappointing that characters lost these really specific things that made them more intricate from one character to the next. And they replaced it with the Sacred Treasures, and the Sacred Treasures is sort of just a handful of really elaborate meter-based attacks, and they're shared across the cast, so it's almost like a reverse cloning. Instead of having characters with clone movesets, they have these unique attacks that are sort of like handed out multiple times across the cast. So it's sort of like a weird kind of reverse cloning, and it completely took away the R1 attacks in the process, which I felt was unnecessary. So here we are with a game that's trying to really homogenize the systems and the mechanics so that this huge roster can function effectively, and I think that's fair because the roster is really huge, and it's not easy to have a roster this big that is all well made and balanced. So I think they did make a smart decision in that way to go with the Sacred Treasure mechanics, and the Sacred Treasure mechanic isn't really bad. I don't think it's bad. I think the only thing that's disappointing about it is how it replaced R1s entirely. But I do also have some gripes with the Sacred Treasure mechanic as well. The way the Sacred Treasure mechanic is designed is very limiting. It's very limiting. So it's a meter-based mechanic, but you have 3 different attacks all using the same resource, and the way the resource works is super rigid. First off, you have the normal magic, which takes a pretty small chunk of the meter, which isn't a big deal to be honest, but in exchange, normal magic doesn't really do damage or anything. It's just mostly like a really basic way to like manage enemy positioning and stuff. Obviously the best normal magics are the ones that just kind of round up the enemies and allow you to easily crowd control and combo them. And then you have some that are just a lot more situational. So normal magic either ends up being like the really generic combo extender or crowd control tool, or it just ends up being something that's almost obsolete or just kind of gimmicky overall. Then you have the heavy magic, which is... Let me head into a mock battle as I talk about this stuff. You have heavy magic, which is... or strong magic. I forget the actual proper name. I apologize for that, but like your strong magic attack with the triangle, which is like, it uses the whole bar, and it's a pretty strong attack that normally hits like a sizable or controllable space. And these attacks are usually some of the better ways to use your magic. But they also lower your hit, they remove your hit count, so the game's sort of like setting you up in a way to where they expect you to kind of build up a big hit count and then kind of like dump a strong magic attack to get like the ideal damage and setup. So it makes the whole use of the Sacred Treasure mechanic feel a bit linear, and sometimes you're not going to be using it for the unique properties they offer, but rather you're just using it to follow this sort of weird rules and structure they built around it. And of course, like the strong magic uses the full bar, so after you use a strong magic spell, you have to wait for this bar to recharge before you can really even have like full access to your magic repertoire again. You'll be able to use normal magic because it doesn't use as much, but once again, like I said, normal magic is it's more of just a management tool. So, and then next up you have the unique magic on circle. Now unique magic on circle uses the full bar and it uses a bar of Muso, and the attacks are really strong, but because of the high cost and resources, it just mainly ends up being something that you're going to use like as a finishing attack, or just like when you want to dump a whole lot of damage. But once again, it's a big investment, so you're managing these 3 different magic attacks that all have some sort of utility application, but because of the way the meter system works, you're not able to use all these moves very freely. You have to like really say, like, you have to really commit to like 1, two of them you have to really commit to. The normal magic, like I said, it doesn't use a lot of meter, but the unique and the strong magic both use your whole bar, which means that you have to just really invest the entire idea that you're going to use this spell for this reason, and that just limits like the potential that these different magics can have, because you can only really invest into one per a battle because of the like kind of crazy recharge time. And of course there's not really any skills or anything you'll get throughout the game that are gonna like dramatically change how this resource works. The resource is pretty much set in stone with the little manipulation to how it works from beginning to end of the game. They do have the little stones you can find throughout missions which allow you to kind of fill the bar up faster, but once again that's just it's a really situational way to be able to use magic a little more freely. So I feel like they put too much, they made this resource so difficult and so limited to manage that you just kind of use a character as a sort of one-trick pony in a way. Like maybe a character has a really good normal magic, so you're going to use that character for their normal magic, and then another character has like really good strong magic, so you're going to use them just for the strong magic, and then you're going to have like maybe a character with a really good unique magic, and you're going to use that character probably for that, because it doesn't really make any sense to just freely throw your meter away on any random normal, strong, or unique magic, because you have to share this limited resource across your whole party, across all 9 of your spells, and if you just use it on a whim, you're gonna be locked out of being able to use any magic on any of your characters for a bit of time, besides like maybe normal magic, because like I said, it doesn't take as much. So I don't really like how they designed this resource. It makes the whole potential of the magic system much more limited and linear than it should be. Instead of having like this wealth of interesting attacks that you can use in interesting ways, you instead have to like really plan that you're going to use this attack in this situation, which it just becomes really monotonous and boring to me after a while. Compared to say like in the past games like Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate, where you have the R1 attacks where each character can, you know, freely utilize their R1 attacks how they wanted, because they're based on a more specialized meter system with different costs that are not like shared across your whole group. So I'm really I like the idea of the sacred magic, but I feel like I'm really disappointed with how they handled the resource involving it and how it replaced the unique R1 attacks characters had. So besides that, I want to talk about the levels. The levels in this game are really underwhelming. They're super linear levels. The way they design them, you have to follow like point A, B, C, D to progress through the level, and it just makes the whole, it's not Muso, because you know in Muso you're used to having a big open map and you have to strategically maneuver that map to complete your objectives. You have to pick and choose like the smarter ways to go, but the way they design the levels here, they're just really linear. They do have little opportunities to kind of deviate, but for the most part you're just kind of saying, yo, whatever, I have to just keep going through the straight path, and I don't think that works with Muso, or it doesn't stay interesting with Muso, because the maps, you know, Muso maps are generally just pretty flat and standard. So what makes them interesting to navigate is because you're dumped in a more open field and you have to kind of pick and choose how you tackle your objectives, whereas when you're just kind of forced into a straight line and you know what you have to do to tackle each objective, these maps become more underwhelming. And I don't know, the difficulty of the game is not there. You will get randomly one shot, two shot, kind of stuff like that. That's basically the bulk of your challenge, if you want to call that a challenge. You know, a lot of people might say that's just like artificial difficulty sort of things, just getting like one shot by some usually pretty random attack that you probably couldn't really react to in most cases. It just kind of happened to hit you and you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or maybe you were playing like a little more loose and carefree and you get hit by something. But like the challenge in this game is lacking. You know, warrior games in general have like a kind of wild spectrum of challenge, but I think some of the best warrior games have definitely had like good wholesome challenging content to tackle that didn't just amount to like one-shotting you. But that's pretty much what this game does to provoke any sort of challenge, is just try to kill you in minimal hits. And if the game isn't killing you in minimal hits, then there's pretty much no challenge. You're just blending through all the enemies pretty effortlessly. So the game isn't that engaging to me in that regard, because there's just not like any point where it feels like you're getting like a really wholesome challenge. Regardless of difficulty, regardless of stage, and so on. Maybe the DLC stages are a little more fine-tuned for difficulty, but I mean, you shouldn't have to buy additional stages just to get something that provides a challenge. So this game, it works for what it is. It's like a good celebration of Samurai Warriors, Dynasty Warriors, and that's kind of what Warriors Orochi is made, and it works. It's a pretty like standard functional game, but I feel like it's just like, unless you're really into the whole like the team aspect and like a lot of the flashiness that goes into the game, I feel like it's lacking like the finer depth. It's lacking in content. There's not really a proper post-game or side modes that are just fun and engaging. You just kind of get the standard story mode and that's it. And then after that, you just continue to build and optimize characters. And I don't know. I've been taking a long time to really like put anything out talking about this game, because I've been trying my hardest to just try to appreciate this game. Like, you know, I love my Musou games, and there is good points about this game, but overall, I'm just not gonna lie, I'm really disappointed. It's really hard for me to sit and play like more than 1, 2, or 3 maps in one sitting each time I play the game, and I just feel like there's not much to experience here that you either haven't already experienced in other warrior games. And I'm disappointed in the removal of R1 attacks. I'm disappointed in how the resource works for sacred treasures. The challenge is just underwhelming. Just playing like a lot of the same movesets you've already played across all the games. You know, the new characters there's not a lot of new characters here. They took out the guest characters. The new characters that are in this game, you can't even really get them until you beat the game, which is just really awkward, because they're the new content. You know, you want to play the new game to experience new content. However, you have to endure so much of content you've probably already played if you're an avid Warriors fan, before you can actually start to experience the new content this game has, which is just, this is really weird. I don't know. Honestly, this game, it disappoints me in a lot of ways. It does have a lot of nice things. Like I mentioned, the mock battle mode for training and stuff is really neat. Some of the switch mechanics. And they did make an effort to make sure all the characters are more functional by having this more homogenized sacred treasure system. But I feel like the game just lacks like the heart, the passion, the good content, the good depth, and such that my favorite warrior games have. And I'm really interested to see like how they handle updates for this game. If they decide to make like a Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate or something like that. So I'm always going to keep my eyes open for the future of this game, but I'm really not too pleased with it at all. As I said, it's not particularly bad, but I feel like I've just I've played the majority of what this game has to offer already, just by playing all the other Warrior games, and the whole Orochi gimmick itself, the team mechanic itself, is done on such a basic level in this game that it's just that alone doesn't make it interesting enough for me to want to just play through and use all these same characters I've already used, especially when they took out the R1 attacks, which made these characters more unique. You know, like the Samurai Warrior characters definitely feel so simple without their R1 attacks, and the Dynasty Warrior characters are also feel more simple as well, but at least the Dynasty Warrior characters still have like more charges, so it helps them feel not as like simple compared to the Samurai Warrior characters, where the Samurai Warrior characters only have like a few charge attacks anyways, so they just feel more limited than ever. Excluding like the Sacred Treasure gimmick, which is neat, but you know, it's a shared mechanic, so it kind of loses its luster to a degree once you start playing so many characters and you realize that all these characters are using like the same few Sacred Treasures. So that's just how I feel about the game. That's why I haven't really been putting up much content. I've just really been sitting on this, and I don't know, just trying to sort my overall feelings for this game, and they're not particularly great, but I do recognize that I've heard a lot of great, like the game selling well. A lot of people do like the game, and I think that's fine. And I'm glad the game is selling well, because that helps the future of the Warrior series, which is what I do care about. You know, like, I try to support the Warrior series as much as I can. I did import this game, and I did get the English version. I got a code from Koei Tecmo America, but of course I did purchase the Japanese version as well through import. So I try to support my Warrior games, even if some of them I don't necessarily like, but I do care about the future of Warriors in general, so I do try to support it, and I'm glad this game is doing well, even though it's not a game that I'm like particularly having a great time with. And I do look forward to whatever updates or whatever like expansion they may have for this game, but in its current state, it just feels like too much of what I've already played. It feels like they made the game a bit too linear in some ways. It feels like they took out some of the uniqueness. There's a lack of good content, and so on. Oh, and I'll just also mention like PvP mode. So they added PvP mode in this game, and I actually did enjoy PvP mode from what I did play of the Japanese version. There was a lot of Japanese people playing the PvP mode when it first came out. Despite the lag, it was actually kind of fun, but I haven't been able to get a single match since the game launched worldwide, and it just kind of shows that they wasted a lot of their effort on the PvP mode that could have been put into a mode that would have been more important for this game, the single player portion of this game, the post game and such. So even though I do enjoy the PvP mode, it was a very bad move on their end to be their only other mode outside of story mode when nobody's playing it. It's not what like the fan base really wanted. You know, like the mode like that you have to add after you add the things that the fan base actually wants. So I felt like the PvP mode would have made more sense as like a, I don't know, like a later update, or like in an like Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate or something like that. That's where the PvP mode would have made sense, but in the base game, they chose this to be the only side mode, and as fun as it is, it doesn't really matter how fun it is if nobody's playing it. So the PvP mode was kind of a bad call on their end for that reason. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or any comments, you want to kind of expand on some of the things I said, or you want to share some of your opinions on the game or what you think, I'm definitely interested to hear what you all think. I know a lot of people have been waiting to hear my opinion on this game, so I felt like I wanted to make this video even though it's super late. It's incredibly late. You know, like, the game's kind of already came and went, I feel, at this point, but I still wanted to put something out there. I felt like I just had to do that. So this is it, and I'm definitely interested to hear what you all think, what you think of the game, whether you're having a great time with it, whether you have any personal gripes with it, and so on. Also, I know Koei Tecmo did put up a survey about the game. I will try to link it down below so that you can all check that out, so you can share your opinions with Koei Tecmo themselves. And that's it. Peace, everybody. Thank you for watching.